Hello. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Kim. I'm one of the pastors at Convergence Church on the west side of Cincinnati, and I just want to share something that's encouraging with you today. I had no intentions whatsoever of doing a video today, but after prayer at church this morning, we have prayer every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. After prayer this morning, and the vision that the Lord had given me, combined with, what He did and the words that were spoken on Sunday at church, and words that have been spoken for the past 2 or 3 months, I just feel compelled that I need to share this with all of you today. Those who will have ears to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying to the church. I want to address you. All right. So, this morning at prayer, we were praying for the fire of the Lord to fall, and the purifying fire of the Lord to fall. God desires mercy over judgment, and we need to be praying for the fire of the Lord to fall, for the mercy of God to come. And as we were praying, He took me into a vision. And I know some of you listening may not believe that God still does that, but let me assure you, He does. He still gives us dreams and visions. He still speaks prophetically through His people who will have an ear to hear what He is saying. He still does miracle signs and wonders, and we're going to see that increase. The closer we get to the end of time here on earth as we know it, we're going to see those things happen more and more. Amen. All right. So this morning during prayer, we're praying for that specifically. We're praying for specific areas. I'm not going to go into everything we were praying, but we were praying specifically for the fire of God to come, prayer to arise in the church. And all of a sudden I was taken into a vision. The Lord took me and started showing me the prayers of the saints. And it started with, First Nation people here in this nation, because we had been praying specifically for our nation. And then we prayed for the rest of the world. But we were praying specifically for our nation. So that's where the Lord took me right away. He took me to the First Nation people, and I could hear their cries. I could hear the cries of the First Nation people as they lifted up their voices to the Lord. And then I could see it. I could see their prayers like a smoke signal, rising up to heaven. And then He took me throughout history. He took me to the slaves. And I'm going to try to get through this because all of this broke me. And our times with the Lord, we should have times of breaking. But He took me to the slaves who were meeting in secret places, in, little one-room shacks scattered throughout. I was going from place to place to place to see them gathering in secret so that they wouldn't be found, and their voices crying up to heaven. And some of them, I don't know if any of you, some of you have, I know, but some of you probably don't know that sometimes the slaves, they would turn their cooking pots upside down and pray, get down on the ground and pray into the cooking pot to catch the sound of their prayers so that they wouldn't be found. And I could see that in this vision. I could see people just gathering in secret places at night, deep into the night. And I could see them just going to these secret places to gather to pray, that their voices could go up could ascend to heaven so God would hear their cries. And I saw, as it were, like smoke from the chimney arising out of these little huts, or these little cottages, these little shacks, these little shanties, wherever it was that they were meeting, these meeting places. I could just see smoke arising. And then He took me further back in through time, and he showed me just the cries of the people throughout history, all around the world, everywhere there's been oppression. And the people have cried out to God, and I could see their cries ascending to heaven like smoke, like the signal fires, of First Nation people. It was like these signal fires rising to heaven. And then he took me as if it was like I was being taken away from the earth so I could see it from a distance. And all the prayers, hear me out, because some of you feel like your prayers don't matter. But all of the prayers from throughout time to now, the people that are crying out now for a move of God, all the prayers were combined, and it was like this plume, this massive plume of smoke rising up to heaven. It was amazing. I could see earth in the distance, but I could see this massive plume of what looked like smoke rising up to heaven. But then he took me into the throne room where the living creatures around the throne were holding the bowls. And it says the bowls of the prayers of the saints. Revelation 5, chapter 8. Let me make sure that's right. I don't want to give you the wrong. Yes, Revelation 5, chapter 8. The bowls of the prayers as incense. So it wasn't smoke I was seeing. It was the incense of the prayers of the saints ascending to heaven. Our prayers are incense to the Lord. And I saw these bowls of prayers, the incense. And it took me back to 4 years ago, January 2018, when the Lord gave me this same vision, the throne room with the living creatures around the throne holding the bowls of the prayers of the saints. And he reminded me of that. He took me back there again. That's important. It's important. He took me back there again. And then I heard, you're almost to the tipping point. You're almost to the tipping point. Because if you'll read on in Revelation, you read on into Revelation 8, 3 through 5. And it's when the seals are beginning to be opened. It says in Revelation 8, 3 through 5, it says, then another angel, having a golden censer, came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints ascended before God from the angel's hand. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there were noises, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. Sunday, this past Sunday at church, the Lord put on my heart, Horton Hears a Who. And I know that may sound odd that, you would get an unction to share a Dr. Seuss story. But if you don't know Horton Hears a Who, you should go read it. It has many meanings. But in this case, he's talking about the prayers of the saints. And that every voice matters. Back in February of this year, during prayer, there was a clarion call that was issued saying your voice matters. And that's what God is wanting people to know and understand right now. Because in Horton Hears a Who, just a quick synopsis of Horton Hears a Who. Horton is the elephant in the story, and he picks up a dandelion, I believe it was, or flower, whatever it was, but he picks it up in his trunk and he hears voices, and the voices on the flower are the voices of the people in Whoville, which is a tiny little town on this flower. It's a speck, you can't even see it, but Horton's the only one that can hear it. And everybody's telling him to destroy it, destroy it, destroy it, whatever. But he's like, I need you all to cry out so that you can be heard. And so everyone's crying out, and the noises and the trumpeters are trumpeting, and people are yelling and singing. And so there's all kinds of noise being made from Whoville, but still nobody can hear them. But then they found one young man who was hiding. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't making noise. And so then they compelled him to make noise. And so once he added his voice to all the others, it was the tipping point. And others besides Horton heard the people of Whoville. And so I believe with everything in me, what God is saying right now is that your voice matters. Your prayers, they matter. Don't think, please do not think because you are just you and you're not praying with others, or you can't pray like so-and-so, or, you're not as extravagant prayer. Listen, prayer is not about extravagance. Prayer is about crying out to God for God to move upon the earth. Prayer is communion with God. That's all it is. Prayer is communion with God. It is talking to God and hearing what God is saying so that we can say what it is we hear him saying. We can declare it. We can pray it. We can sing it. Prayer is taking his word and praying it, declaring it, reading it, read it out loud, sing it, allow the song of the Lord to come out of you. If you don't know what to pray, go to Psalms, start praying Psalms, but get his word out and start praying his word. But your voice matters. And I also want to encourage you that sometimes we feel like our prayers are so insignificant. Maybe it is just you and you're the only one showing up for a prayer meeting. But your prayer is mixing. Here's the thing, your prayer, what God is showing me, your prayers are mixing in with all the prayers of the saints throughout history. That's encouraging. Your prayer is not being lifted up to heaven all by itself as just this one little tiny sound, on the speck of a dandelion, like in Whoville. No, your prayer is mixing in with all the other saints in the kingdom of God, ascending to heaven, and they are being captured in the bowls around the throne room. That's how important our prayers are. And just think, if we are getting to that point where we're close to the tipping point. Now, I'm not saying I know when that is, because we don't know when that is, but we can look and see, according to scripture, that we're getting closer to the day of the Lord, the day that the Lord is coming back. So listen, if you don't know the Lord, maybe you don't even believe in him. Maybe you don't think he's real, or maybe you just don't like what he has to say. Maybe you have a misunderstanding of him. Maybe you think that he's just all rules and all these other things, whatever it is you might think. I implore you to begin asking him to show you who he is. Earnestly ask him, God, if you're real, if I have a misunderstanding of you, if you're real, show me who you are. Show me who you are. Allow him access to your dreams. Allow him access to speak to you in the night. He'll begin showing you. There's people in other nations who he is revealing himself to them in their dreams. He's coming to them in their dreams. And he confirms it with something that happens while they're awake. He confirms it. So he'll do that. He'll do that for you. But I implore you to search and to seek and find him. Those of you who already know him, listen, it's time to get serious. It is time to declutter our lives. It is time to restructure our lives, to allow God to mess up our schedules. It is time to put him first. It is time to get in the word like we've never dug into the word. Listen, don't just listen to a preacher. Don't just listen to your preacher, your pastor, your minister, your priest, whatever that person is that stands in that pulpit that speaks to you on a Wednesday night or a Saturday night or a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whatever time you go to church. Don't just listen to that person. Get into the word. Find out if what that person is telling you is the truth, first and foremost, because it says as we draw near to the end of time, to the day of the Lord, the day that he's coming back, many will be deceived. And then that many is he's talking about the people in the church. He's not talking about, people who don't know the Lord yet. He's talking about people who go to church on Sunday mornings or Saturday nights or Wednesday nights or whenever it is you go to church. He's talking about those people that many will be deceived by many different things, but by doctrine of man and all this different stuff. If we are not in the word, how are we going to know if what we're being taught is true? So it is imperative that we get into the word of God. It's imperative that we spend time in prayer. It is imperative that we learn and hear the voice of the Lord and discipline ourselves so that we can hear him, because he says, my sheep know my voice. So if you don't know the voice of the Lord, if you've been serving him for any length of time, but you don't know his voice, then get in his word. Study it. Absorb it. Eat it. It's our bread. It's our bread of life. It is everything to us. If you don't know the Lord and you don't understand him, get in his word. Start in New Testament. Old Testament will confuse you. Start in the New Testament. Start in the book of John. That would be my recommendation. Start there. Learn who Jesus is. Jesus is love. He is love and he is mercy. So be encouraged. Be encouraged today. Be encouraged that your prayers matter. Be encouraged that your voice matters. Be encouraged that your prayers are not only heard by God, but they're stored. They are stored. Our prayers, our praise, our worship arises to heaven as incense to the Lord, as a sweet fragrance to him. And that fragrance reminds him, not that he needs to be reminded, but it does. It reminds him of his promises. That sweet fragrance of the prayers of the saints, of the worship of his people, his children. It pleases the Lord. It pleases the Lord. And listen, some of you may have prayed for years and years and years and you haven't seen the answer to prayer. Don't stop praying. Don't get off the wall. Keep praying. Keep praying. Keep praying. Because there comes a point in time where there's a tipping point. And you'll experience a suddenly. That person you're praying for, they may experience a suddenly. You may have been praying for 20 years, but in that moment, it's a suddenly. Keep praying. Amen? Well, that was it. Bless you all. Keep praying. See you later.